We got football, we got basketball, we got all kinds of stuff going on here as we get you set on a Tuesday morning. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, up and at 'em, 6 a.m. here, December the 17th, as we are now 2 weeks away, Preston Thorne, 2 weeks away from a bowl game. 14 days.
Yeah, but I feel like you're overlooking. I feel like you're overlooking something very important. Like you're trying to get to the big game, but I feel like don't let this trap game get in front of us. There's a couple trap things that we have before we get to the bowl game.
We started almost 9 months ago, a long time ago, with countdowns. I'm wrapping it up with a countdown.
Gotcha.
This is the final countdown. But no, we are right. Big basketball game tonight. I've called it a must-win. We'll get into that a little bit. It is a extremely, extremely important game for Lamont Paris in South Carolina. Look, there are other games, and we will discuss this. There will be other games, and there will be chances to climb out of the hole, if you will. But tonight, South Carolina needs this game for their resume. This is a resume game that you have to have in order to look pretty, if you will. Is there a better terminology I could use? Look pretty.
Appealing.
I'm going to go with pretty. I like pretty. But look pretty, look appealing when the NCAA selection, and we just went through this, right? Just in a different manner. But to look appealing, look pretty when the NCAA basketball tournament selection committee gathers that weekend, that final weekend of the conference tournaments, and they go, ooh, well, they did beat Clemson, and Clemson was ranked. They did beat Clemson. Let's put that as a mark in the good column for them.
Yeah, obviously it's a game that's going to need to be had. And so we're going to hear it from Lamont a little bit today to hear what he has to say about it. And I'm excited to bear down and watch this because I haven't watched Clemson all year. So I want to see because I guess they're good.
They stayed in the top 25 yesterday, so this would be a top 25 victory for Lamont Paris and his team. They are, according to the AP Top 25, they are number 25. 2 losses on the season. They've lost to Boise State 84-71 and lost over the weekend to Memphis. That game was up at Littlejohn Coliseum, and they lost 87-82. That was actually a really good game. I was slightly surprised they dropped 9 spots yesterday. I thought they might drop 4 or 5. It's not like Memphis is a dog. Memphis is 8-2 on the season. Memphis is a good little basketball team, and I didn't expect Clemson to drop that much. Almost fell out of the polls, which was actually very surprising. But
which would have been bad for us.
Yeah, you'd still get the quad 1 victory, but it would look nice. It will look nice if you can get the victory tonight and say, hey, we beat a ranked team. Kind of what you tried to do, what I think we tried to do at certain times during the football season to quantify a good victory or what ended up being a bad loss. Because when South Carolina lost to LSU, they were 16. LSU was 16. And you're like, look, it's not a bad loss. They were ranked 16th. It's pretty sound. It's okay to lose to a top 20 team. LSU didn't finish the season ranked. People kind of quantified it differently when we got to the very end. But nonetheless, we'll get a lot into that today as South Carolina Clemson tonight right here. You can hear it on 107.5, the game, as we'll get you ready for that. Should be a really good game. Also, you're right. Clemson comes in. Brad Burnell's got a solid team, a team that is expected to make the NCAA tournament. Again, would be a quad 1 victory in the event that South Carolina is in position. And again, Preston, that's why I talk about tonight being a must-win. In position come March to make the NCAA tournament. So we'll get a lot into that. Also, yesterday, more awards. You're a big awards guy, I've noticed. You like the awards.
No, I don't. I think there's probably too many. But I do think when you get to these awards,
okay,
these are not just some random awards. This is not like we're just giving out superlatives to the class and trying to make sure everybody gets a medal. These are AP All-Americans.
Okay.
This is the top of the top. Bronco Nagurski, the highest of the highest. These are not just random Southeast 107.5 point game in Columbia Awards. We're not talking about that.
This isn't the award for having the ugliest sweater?
Yeah. We're talking about for real deal awards. Okay. So, yes, there are some awards that I think are worth mentioning and worth really, really taking note of because we haven't had a lot of these in our history, in our long, especially defensive side of the ball. We just haven't had a lot of these guys, so these awards are really important.
So explain what awards you mentioned it. But
Kyle Kennard and Nick Emenwari were named first team All-American. Nick Emenwari was named first team All-American by the AP. Kyle Kennard was named second team All-Americans by the AP. And though the AP may not have the status in the voting anymore, this is still one of the awards because this is not just the all SEC team. This is a very high standard of selection out of the nation. And so when your name gets called amongst this group, you have truly had an elite and successful season.
So we'll get into that a little bit as well. Also talk a little bit about the upcoming bowl game. Demetrius Knight talking a little bit yesterday, something to prove for him. Also, just throwing this out. You talk about what? Let me ask you this, because it's not an award, but Clayton White's name popping up yesterday in a coaching search. Now, he is not the favorite, according to this, but he is at least on the list. Is that considered kind of an award when your name pops up for a Power 4 job?
As long as your agent's on their job, yeah, it's going to be a nice, handsome reward. Matter of fact, I'd rather have rewards than awards.
Okay.
And I'd rather my agent put provisions in my contract for awards.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's a good thing.
Clayton White's name at least popping up there on the Wake Forest job hot board, if you will. There are names ahead of him. He's not exactly the top candidate, but
take that back.
But that's a good sign, right? You got your defense. I mean, that's why I throw it at you. Okay, you got defensive players on the AP All-American list, and your defensive coordinator is at least getting mentioned. He is a Broyles Award nominee, by the way. So he's but at least getting mentioned for Power 4 status. Oh yeah, by the way, we might have to get to that. There's a board meeting today.
Nice.
And it says multiple contracts, restructuring a contract, which is in this situation is a good thing, unlike out at Oklahoma State where restructuring your contracts is a bad thing.
Or Florida State.
We'll get to that, too. Mm-hmm. So, Clay White, the write-up on him, basically pretty basic, just mentions that his flex nickel defense.
Ooh.
You like that?
Ooh, the flex nickel.
Flex nickel defense helped the Gamecocks rank among the nation's top 20 in nearly every defensive statistical category during the regular season. Scoring defense, turnovers. It also points out that he is a Dunn, North Carolina native with connections to the Triangle. Also goes on to say how he played linebacker for North Carolina State from 97 to 2000. So ties to there. Just being mentioned, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that when you're at least mentioned for the job.
No, that's all right. You want to be mentioned for jobs that come open because, again, that allows your agents to, knock on some doors and make some phone calls and just, hey.
Send some faxes over with the.
Just get the email machine going.
Fire back up the fax machine and send it over to the athletic department.
Don't know if you've seen this or not, but our guy.
There you go. So that's a little bit from what happened yesterday.
Real quick, with Dave Clawson gone, stepping down from Wake Forest, does that mean that the slow mesh is out of college football? Because that was something I did enjoy.
I'd have to get a complete breakdown of what exactly the slow mesh is.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to need an exact breakdown of what we got here.
Okay. All right. We might could do that.
Okay. You can break that down for us, and then if you'll get a little more defined on the flex nickel.
Well, you substitute the flex nickel for the slow mesh, and because here's the thing: at a place like Wake Forest, you need a gimmick.
Okay.
You need to have something going on, and the slow mesh is what kept us paying attention to them. Aside from them having some moderately successful seasons, so. Maybe the flex nickel is the thing.
Speaking of coaching jobs, real quick, let me throw this out there at you. This popped up yesterday afternoon. How would you feel about Michael Vick being a head coach somewhere?
Yeah, I have thoughts.
Okay, we'll come back to that then. We'll come back to that. Good. I'm glad I didn't see that on the rundown. We wanted to throw that at you.
Thoughts.
We will revisit that. So if you want to be a part of the program this morning, 803-404-6100. Let's get out to our gentleman caller, Mr. Gamecock Larry. How you feeling this morning, young man?
I'm just taking it one day at a time. But, Bill, when you announce the host on the early morning, remember, it's Jen first, and then you add a gentleman later. Jen is the first one. And I want to tell all the nurses going in, Lexington Medical Center, on the 4th floor and the 9th floor, and all the nurses going home. I appreciate what you done for the old man, and I'm living the life of a writer, just laying here, eating, sleeping, and I don't know, but I want to thank everyone for your calls, and everything is going to be all right. And your Dryston motocross team down there, keep flying the Gamecock flag high everywhere you go. And, Root Hog, you ain't called me yet. And I remember that. And Odabo, down by 17, 41 to 24. I love all y'all. Keep me in your prayers. Everything is going to be all right. Talk to you later. And Bill, remember in the morning when you say your first name you say is Ben, then you are the two gentlemen. Love all y'all. Go game.
There you go, buddy.
Cox, talk to you later. Love y'all. Bye.
Love you too. Yeah. The only thing I would argue a little bit, we can't, it's not JPB. It's PB and J. So technically I should be saying Preston first for us to be the peanut butter and jelly show, PB
fair.
and J. I agree with what you're saying. Jen should be, the lady should be introduced first, and that is what has made you so special. You are a gentleman, and I appreciate it, but it is hard to be jelly, peanut, butter.
That's true. On top of everything,
It's the flow.
it does flow right, but 2 days in a row, 41 to 24. So he's consistent.
He's consistent. I love
consistent
that.
score.
Okay. All right. So 41-24, which the spread on that 11.5, and we'll talk more about the college football playoff as we move through the week. 803-404-6100. You're listening to Jennifer Jensen, Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne. It is the early game. Nope. Bill Gunner for Old Timey Meat Market. 3 locations to choose from. You hear me talk about them all the time. South Congaree, St. Andrews Road, and, of course, that Lexington store that I am frequently a visitor to. And right now with Christmas dinner just over a week away, I guess a week away from tonight, you'll be getting your Christmas dinner on. Well, what are you going to get? Well, at Old Timey Meat Market, you could go with steak. You could have a great steak for Christmas dinner. Maybe you want to go with a fantastic tenderloin. They've got those. Maybe you want to go with some kind of great pork chop or ribs or something. Guess what? Old Timey Meat Market has it all. When it was founded, they wanted a place where the butcher knew your name, knew your favorite cut of meat, and knew what advice to give you to make the best dinner possible for you and your family. That's why I love visiting Old Timey Meat Market. Not only because they have the best selection of meats, the absolute best prices, but because of the way they treat you, the customer. They treat you like a family member and make sure that you know what you're purchasing. Visit one of their 3 locations, South Congaree, St. Andrews Road, or visit me at the Lexington store.
No accidents to speak of right now. Don't have any major slowdowns as well, so it's a good start to your Tuesday. Little fog out there. Once that's burning off, though, going to be looking for a high today of 72. 73 tomorrow, maybe some afternoon or evening showers. And on Thursday, dropping a little bit, some clouds and 61. But the next couple of mornings will be in the low to mid 50s. So we can take that for mid-December. But right now, sitting at 45 on 107.5 The Game.
Tonight, over at Colonial Life Arena, we get into a huge basketball game. As a matter of fact, the biggest home game of the season to date. Preston Thorne team's been playing for a little over a month, almost a month and a half. And tonight is the first really marquee home game for the Gamecocks, which is going to create a nice level of excitement. And yesterday, let's hear a little bit from Lamont Paris. Yesterday, he talked about excitement for tonight's game.
I think it's the next game. We're excited about playing a good team, a really good team. That's not to insinuate anyone that we have played is not good, but it's an in-state game. It's we're playing a mini or ACC schedule on the side of what we got in the SEC. It's Clemson. So there's a lot of reasons to be excited, and you got a good team. They're not good because someone ranked them and then put a little number next to them. To the eyeball, they're good. They have good players. They do good things. They do winning things, and so it's a great opportunity for us. We're excited about it.
Tonight, pregame gets going 6:30 right here, 107.5 The Game, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Tip off at 7 o'clock.
Serious analysis incoming. However, just happy to hear the sounds of basketball behind him. It's my favorite thing.
Okay.
Balls bouncing, sneakers squeaking, bricks being shot. This is tremendous. We're going to have to hear some more just so I can hear some more basketball. But to the excitement, Lamont didn't really do a great job of selling the excitement just now. He said it's the next game, it's an in-state game. But to me, it feels like the first game of the season for some strange reason. I don't know why. They've played several games to this point. They were hidden against Indiana on Peacock somewhere. And
yeah.
Those games were – this feels like the first time, maybe because football's not happening. I feel like a lot more fans are going to put their eyes on this team for maybe the first time in this year. They've been playing all year, but this might be the first actual game of the season.
Well, yeah. Again, to your point, it's the first true big home game. And this is going to be kind of interesting. I'll tell you what, we'll come back to this. Let's listen. This is Lamont Paris talking about playing Clemson when the students are gone. I guess exams wrapped up. Now, the good thing is here in Columbia, a lot of students going home sometimes just means going out to the Northeast, going back to Lexington or over to Irmo or something. So you're not too far removed. But here is, because we're going to come back to this. This is the first big home game of the season for them. There'll be plenty during SEC play. But here is Lamont yesterday talking about playing this with the students being gone.
I've done that. We did that last year, I think, right? It was early in the season, and so, I don't get too much into the woods with that. It's like, sure, it would be nice. We'll still have some students will be around, some local kids, and they'll have some kids that travel down here too. But it would be nice to be able to do it when the kids are in school. I think all of the games are made more fun when you have not only a crowd, but a crowd that involves students. But, it's hard. You're playing more games in your league. I think they're playing 20 conference games now, too. We've got 18. We've talked about going to 20 maybe one day. it just, the more you start doing that, the MTEs, all that kind of stuff, you have less control over when some of these games. You got the SEC, ACC challenge. Like it gets harder and harder to find days that you can squeeze these games into.
I think this is your.
One thing we might have to request of Coach is, look, if you're going to do this with the balls bouncing in the back, we got to get you to have a more stern voice. Yeah, I always like listening to him talk. We got to be a little more stern there to get the voice over the basketballs. They do need a big home court advantage tonight, and that's something they really have not had to date. Basketball for South Carolina in November and December. Look, it's always been a challenge for any coach to get people into the stands. Tonight should be the first true home court advantage that they have during the season. And I think the students will still turn out for this game because, as I said, the thing about the University of South Carolina, Preston, is most, not every, stick around a little bit longer, and also it's not too far of a trip, whereas up at Clemson, they scatter out a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that, but it's not the same as being able on campus.
Right.
We can pregame all day or whatever we need to do to get ourselves ready for the game as students. Maybe that's studying, whatever it is that they have to get into. It's not quite the same when you're coming from Lexington and you're meeting up somebody. It's not quite the same. So they'll be there. They won't be in full force, but they will still – I don't know if they'll provide an advantage. But as far as home court advantage is concerned, I think the fan base has proven that they are willing to come out and support, but they got to be able to win. And this is a great step towards creating that atmosphere at CLA.
Going into the night right now, at least as we sit here at 6:25 a.m., Clemson's a 2.5-point favorite. Over/under is set at 135.5. This is according to ESPN Bet. Tigers come in averaging 77.5 points per game. Gamecocks 74.9 points per game. Clemson comes in shooting 45.6% from the field. Gamecocks 45.8% from the field. Both teams, again, you look at, and I'm giving you these numbers, Preston, you look at it, they're very similar. South Carolina averages 8 threes made per game. Clemson, 9 threes made per game. The difference, and this is what you worry about tonight, I think, Clemson at the foul line, 74%. The Gamecocks, just 66.7%. That's something that South Carolina's going to have to do tonight is make their free throws when they get to the line.
First metric in FART, miss free throws.
Yep.
We're going to have to check it out. This will be a very key measure. We'll have to see what that looks like. So are you telling me, because Lamont just went on and on about how Clemson is a good team, we've been hesitant to say that about our team. So are you telling us we're a good team?
Yeah, I don't think they played together like you wanted. Last year was such a magical year, and they gelled so well. We all went, number one, coming off of the previous year, it was such a it was such a joy to watch. It was kind of like watching this particular football team. You just thoroughly enjoyed watching this football team and the effort that they played with and the togetherness that they had, especially on defense. Last year's basketball team was that way, and they have yet to be able to replicate that, really. They're not playing bad. They're also not playing particularly good. They've won with the exception of the North Florida game, and they should have won that.
Ospreys.
Yeah, and I saw an interview the other day with Matt Driscoll, their coach down there, and they're 7-4 on the year.
Keep an eye on them.
We definitely got to keep an eye on them. But at this point, that's why this game is big. You got to still continue to offset that. But they've won the majority of the games they should win. North Florida, the exception. And they've kind of lost the games that you look at them and go like, yeah, you probably should have lost that. Xavier, obviously, and then also, not Xavier, but it was Xavier and Indiana.
Mm-hmm. But they did get Virginia Tech.
Got Virginia Tech.
The next
got
one.
Boston College, but again, those are not particularly great teams.
Boston College did not have a home court advantage.
No. All 7 people forgot what was going on. They stumbled in.
And the students were on campus.
Yeah, that's true.
I can guarantee you this. We will have a better home environment than Boston College.
I expect a good crowd tonight, 7 o'clock. Again, during Christmas season, you can get down there and kind of go and hit some different places and get to the game. I expect a good home crowd. Again, 2.5 points is the line for tonight, and we'll continue to talk about this as we roll along this morning. Again, we will have the pregame for you right here, 6:30 on 107.5 The Game, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, and the tip-off, 7 o'clock. You can catch that right here. We come back. We'll get into a little bit of Demetrius Knight. Oh, Papa, driving the minivan around. We'll let him talk and let Preston Thorne break it down. You're listening to the early game.
Preston here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and give you a free quote for any job. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are, work directly with your insurance company, replace it, and take away the headache. So if you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows or mirrors, Absolute Glass will come out and take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
No major slowdowns to speak of. Good Tuesday morning to you, and not seeing anything to report at this time. 72, that will be the high, and looking for that fog to burn off when the sun comes up. 73 tomorrow, maybe an afternoon or evening shower is possible. Come Thursday, a little bit cooler. 61 will be our high, but right now, looking at 45 on the early game.
6:34 as we roll along here on a Tuesday morning. Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, or I should say Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, then Jen Jensen, PB and J, as we get you up and get you going. Talking a little bit about South Carolina's basketball game tonight over at Colonial Life Arena. Again, reminder, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip-off. Also want to remind you, the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest still going on through the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. That's right. No special teams touchdowns this year. So guess what? It continues on. $1,200. You just need to go to 1075thegame.com and get registered, and you could potentially win $1,200 if the Gamecocks score a special teams touchdown against Illinois in the Cheez-It Bowl. I don't have high hopes.
Listen, man, wacky things happen in bowl games, so you never know. You never know what's going to happen. You never know.
Go to 1075thegame.com, get registered to the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest, and you could win $1,200. The Gamecocks do have something to prove. Preston Thorne and Demetrius Knight talking about that. He was on SEC yesterday morning, and he talked about what they have to prove in the bowl game. Here's what he was saying yesterday on SEC this morning.
Of course, there's disappointment, but there's more of we have more to prove, and more of we're not finished, and this is not going to kind of put us down into the next season, but this is going to skyrocket us into the next season, especially with expectations. So in our minds and in the entire locker room, we had the slight feeling they were going to, have us on the outside looking in. So we're close enough just that we could smell it, we could taste it, and that just let us know that we're not far off at all. So that does nothing but build our confidence, and it didn't matter who we were going to play next. I apologize that it's Illinois. It's not their fault, but we're a team that's feel a little foot in the mouth right now, so we'll probably be playing with a little bit of attitude come that game on 31st.
Okay,
I like it.
All right. Sorry, Illinois. You're just the team on the schedule.
It's not your fault.
You're just the team on the schedule.
Got to do this to you.
Yeah. What do you think?
So, what I think is, bowl practice has started, correct or not correct?
Bowl practice has started.
What I heard was we have a lot to prove, correct or not correct? Did he say that?
That's right.
Who is the we?
When you say the we, I think the team. Look.
Well, who's the team? Because all through this, and this is going back to pat myself on the back, all through this we've been talking about bowl games, people are going to be leaving, opting out. We haven't heard who is or who isn't going to be playing yet. Now, dude, is there a drop-dead date as far as rosters are concerned or when this has to be finalized? Or is it just the thing where we haven't had the opt-in graphics yet?
Right.
So when he says we, who is we? Is this a secret?
Look, I'm under the assumption at this point, and we will have Carolina Calls, a special Citrus Bowl edition of Carolina Calls.
Special Citrus Bowl edition.
A special, say that several times without messing up and losing my job. A special Citrus Bowl edition of Carolina Calls with Todd Ellis and Shane Beamer tomorrow night. I assume maybe we'll get final clarification on this. I'm under the assumption, the fact that we sit here 2 weeks from the bowl game and they've started practice and that nobody's opted out. Again, the Kyle Kennard thing, I don't know. Yeah, we don't. I assume that they are all in. That is the assumption, is that everybody is said, we want to win 10 games. And I think when he says we have something to prove, we as a team have something to prove, it's like let's go out and prove that we should have been in the college football playoff. Let's go blow the doors off of Illinois and prove that we should have been in the college football playoff. And I don't know, I go back to your teams. In 2000, y'all were 7-4. You lost that tough game to Clemson. In 2001, you beat Clemson. You were 8-3. I don't know if there was a sense of we're going to the Outback Bowl and it's fun and Tampa and it was brand new for Gamecock fans, or if for the team it was we got something to prove. We're playing Ohio State and we want to continue to prove that we're better. Opt-outs were not optional then. There were no opt-outs.
That's not true. There was an opt-out. Kalimba Edwards.
Oh, that's true.
Kalimba Edwards was part of maybe the first, maybe generational player. And it wasn't necessarily an opt-out. It was a mutual agreement amongst Lou Holtz and Kalimba Edwards. But that did happen. Yeah, I think there was something about playing a bigger team. But again, Ohio State had a little bit more of a name cachet than Illinois.
Right.
And I wonder if they go out there, if and when, hopefully they go out there and beat Illinois, I wonder if that's going to add any fuel to the fire of the national argument, or will people just be like, oh, they beat Illinois?
No, they won't. But what I've said and what I think is that it will add fuel to what next year's team is. This is, in a way, it's still the start of the 2025 season, and that if you really kind of roll along and hit and win this ball game, I don't think it helps you say, well, they should have been in the college football playoff. Now, maybe if Penn State just levels SMU Saturday at 12, maybe then we have a completely different, like 45-10, and they just wipe Happy Valley with SMU. But with all that being said, I think this is more about what it leads to in 2025. Lenore Sellers is on that ESPN list of potential Heismans. South Carolina will probably be a potential top 15 team. You go out and you blow the doors off Illinois. Let's be honest. We don't know. We had Florida State at number 10 this year. I say we, but the AP had them at number 10. The media had them at number 10. Nobody's going to pay attention and be like, well, boy, they lost Tonka Hemingway and TJ Sanders and Boogie Huntley and Kyle Kennard and Demetrius Knight. Everybody's just going to be like, yeah, South Carolina. Put him at number 10. Mm-hmm. Put him at number 9. That's what so Demetrius Knight, when he says this, I feel like he's thinking we're going to prove something about this year's team. To me, you're proving something about next year's team.
Paving the way for next year's team.
Because we'll all get angry and we'll all get mad. We'll say, well, why should this team be ranked this high in the preseason when we don't know anything about them?
The first argument that's going to be had is that as soon as somebody gets blown out in this first round of the CFP, at least the first 5 out are going to be like, that should have been us.
Yeah.
Right? If especially if it's one of the lower teams, which we assume it might be, if Boise, SMU, Arizona State, or one of those teams gets blown out, that's our first door opening to, hey, that should have been us.
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah, Alabama, if Alabama goes and rolls over, I think it's Michigan that they're playing. If they win, if South Carolina wins, if Mississippi win, you get the point. Like, and if you go and you lose, then you're like, well, we didn't care about the bowl game anyway.
Of course.
Break out the other thing. Well, it was irrelevant. We weren't fired up. We would have been fired up for the college football playoff. But
that's what Florida State did. That's what they said. It was like, oh man, we were so disappointed. We just got beat 88-0 by Georgia. We'll be back next year.
Yeah,
and they weren't.
But yeah, as Joe weighs in, he says, "Don't take it personal, Illinois, but it's going to be personal." Belt to rear end edition, part 2. I am interested. I feel like Shane Beamer has more than earned credit for having his teams the vast majority of the time. Yeah, you can pick and choose certain games, Mississippi, where they weren't ready to go, but he has had them motivated and ready to go out and play. And I think that in a bowl game like this, he will have them really ready to go. Now, Illinois might just be happy to get out of whatever degree, Jen.
In Urbana, Illinois.
What is the temperature probably today up there? 20s?
I actually yesterday I talked to one of my sisters and she said it was like 52, but that wasn't normal. And I think when we're up there next week, it's gonna actually be maybe low 40s, so that's not gonna be terrible. I've been there a lot worse. But like I said before, my sister is an alum of U of I. I have a nephew who is an alum. I have a lot of friends who went there. I went there as a kid, Little Sis's weekend. I might have danced on a table or two. I could have been obnoxious as a child. But anyway,
shocking.
I digress. Go Gamecocks.
There you go. So Jen's going to take that audio clip up there and let Illinois that it's not personal. It's just you're next on the list.
Yes.
It's not personal for Demetrius, but there's one person on Illinois campus who it very well may be personal for.
We'll get into that when we come back. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for ZeroRez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Right now, it's time for you to take advantage of their December sale. You heard that right. You can get your entire home cleaned with ZeroRez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning and their patented ZR Water technology. You just need to call 803-262-4020 and mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game to get a free staircase with 3 rooms for just $129. You heard that right. A free staircase and 3 rooms for just $129. Call ZeroRez today, 803-262-4020, or you can schedule with ease online, ZeroRezColumbia.com. Again, call and mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, and get the biggest sale of the year. Call and mention me, Bill Gunner, and get a free staircase with 3 rooms for just $129. That's 803-262-4020, or book online, ZeroRezColumbia.com. ZeroRez, spell it backwards and forwards, is the right way to clean.
Hi, everybody. I found out cars could talk, and knowing that people like to hear me talk, I figured I'd put my voice inside this card and tell you happy holiday. My favorite part is the food: ham, deep fried turkey, collard greens, dressing, macaroni and cheese, green bean, candy yam, cranberry sauce, deviled egg, red velvet cake, and gingerbread. Every year I make a gingerbread man and build them a cute little gingerbread house so they can have a cute little gingerbread life. Do gingerbread things like getting eaten. They're scrumptious, don't you think? Anyway, happy holidays from me and Fanatic.
Did he never get interviewed at South Carolina? Did we never interview him?
I don't think so, because the first clue I had was Spencer Rattler doing an impression of Xavier Legette. That was the first clue that
You know what?
had.
Yes.
You remember that?
I do. Now that you say that, oh my gosh.
But to be honest, I thought it was Spencer overcompensating because he hadn't really necessarily heard a Southern accent. So I thought he was just saying like
a little fun.
Yeah, but apparently he wasn't.
I mean, Xavier was here for a while. He wasn't a transfer in. I know he only had one truly impactful year, but how did we miss this?
For all the things that we've been on, we've missed this.
I mean, a gold mine.
Yeah,
mine.
I'm yeah, and we really didn't know about it until after he got drafted, right? It was at that point we were like, hey, wait, what's happening here? Or was it the bowl game? Like, when did this happen?
Like I said, the first time I heard of it was when Spencer was making fun of him, but I thought Spencer was just making fun of all of us. That's what I actually thought. But then comes to find out, no, it's a special brand that our boy has developed for himself, and good on him. Good on him. Hope he keeps rolling.
Hey, no kidding, because this is going to work out quite well. Little country. Mm-hmm.
Hope it's working.
By the way, what direction did he go in that? Because at first he's talking about Christmas cards, then he went down a path with food, which we love food on this show, so we totally get it. But he like threw us a curveball. He was talking about Christmas cards, and then
this is an audio Christmas card, so he's like offering these Christmas cards and audio cards, saying, "Merry Christmas, y'all," and telling a little story in them, so you can hear that in those cards that you get.
Let's get that one more time, because he also goes into you can get lost in a lot of this, but he goes into a little bit of a gingerbread story about making gingerbreads, and then he throws this, and then for all that, if you didn't catch it, he throws a scrumptious in there, and I don't know if we're still using scrumptious, but he is. Play it one more time.
Hey, everybody. I found out cars could talk, and knowing that people like to hear me talk, I figured I'd put my voice inside this card and tell you happy holiday. My favorite part is the food: ham, deep fried turkey, collard greens, dressing, macaroni and cheese, green bean, candy yam, cranberry sauce, deviled egg, red velvet cake, and gingerbread. Every year I make a gingerbread man and build them a cute little gingerbread house so they can have a cute little gingerbread life. Do gingerbread things like getting eaten. They're scrumptious, don't you think? Anyway, happy holidays from me and Fanatic.
You know what I'm thinking about getting him for Christmas? The letter S. Because he does not have one currently. It's gingerbread how.
But he nailed scrumptious.
He did nail that, but boy, at the end of a word, green bean, candy yam.
Hey, he goes on a bit of a Bubba from Forrest Gump rant there with the food.
It was just continuous.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who he reminds me of. I'm going to have to come up with, because there's somebody on TV or a movie or something. You know what? It kind of reminds me a little bit. I don't know, probably didn't. But there was a Beverly Hillbillies movie. And the guy who played Jethro, Diedrich Bader, whatever his name is. Yeah. I'll have to find one of those clips. Pretty funny. Because he kind of talks like that.
That would be if I was given a test and I would say, all right, this is your extra credit question. When I was trying to get my students over the hump. For extra credit, 803-404-61. Whose voice was that? And everybody would be like, "Ooh, that's a guy. I got that one." It'd be an extra easy 5 points because he never said his name, but we're very clear. We've said it, but we're very clear.
Know.
We know exactly who that is and who that was.
Does he not say it at the very beginning?
I don't think so.
I don't think. Yeah,
give me the beginning again. Does he just say, "Hey, everybody"?
Yeah,
I know y'all like.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody. I found out cars could talk.
Okay. No. All right. Yeah. Xavier Legette, 41 receptions on the year, 439 yards, 4 touchdowns. Leads the Panthers in receptions, touchdowns, and yards in his rookie season.
Which I'm thrilled, because then that just makes this better. You know, instead of being, he can't play football, but he can. But we're having fun with him with his accent. So
he also leads them in what is listed as 20. Well, it's listed as big, but 20+ yard receiving plays on the season. He's got 7 of those.
Does he also lead them in drops?
I didn't want to say that, But
we like to give a full picture here.
Thankfully, on the ESPN thing, it does not list drops. He has had a little, but that's fixable.
It absolutely
That's
is.
fixable. And to see what he's doing in his rookie year with the Panthers, again, he's been targeted 70 times. That's almost double the next person, Adam Thielen. Deontay Johnson has 58 targets. He still leads them in targets with 70. Again, he leads them in receptions with 41 and 439 yards. And again, 4 touchdowns. And to Jen's point, Jen makes a great point. It's good to see he's doing that because then you're like, all right, there's actual production to go along with these little funny things he's been doing.
Yeah, he's
whether it's weather reports or
he's done a lot. He's done a lot. He's had a really good year as far as marketing is concerned and a great year on the field. So everything's up for Xavier right now.
Whew. That's something. That's something. We'll get back into some basketball, talk with JC Sherbet, talk a little bit of football recruiting, and a little bit more about this bowl game as we roll along. You're listening to PB&J. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It is the early game.
New Year's coming. Are you going to wait and start the new year the same way you did last year? Tired, achy, losing sleep, not being able to take walks? Don't do it. Take action now and get the pain relief you deserve for 2025 and call QC Kinetix for lasting relief. QC Kinetix local medical professionals are waiting for you, and their advanced protocols and regenerative medicine have helped tens of thousands of people. This is the future of medicine. So if you've been told that surgery is your best or only option, you deserve a second opinion. So find out if all-natural regenerative medicine is right for you. Call QC Kinetix at 803-281-6860. The consultation is free, and you can use HSA and FSA dollars. So again, live your best life in 2025. Call QC Kinetix at 803-281-6860. That's 803-281-6860.
Clemson Road near I-20, I have a report of an accident there. Also, Highway 321 at Whetstone in the Swansea area. We also have a report of a tie-up in Gaston 321 at Mack Street. That forecast, not too shabby. 72 for the high today, 73 tomorrow, and then 61 for Thursday. On Wednesday afternoon and evening, might see just a couple passing showers, but no kind of a washout, no storms in the forecast, but looking pretty darn nice. Currently, it's 45 on 107.5 The Game.
Eight zero 6100 is how you can weigh in. Tony Legette has a bit of boomhauer in him. Another texter says the guy coach from the Waterboy. Another texter weighs in and says you want real extra credit? Try and transcribe that. Thank you to Xavier Legette for brightening our morning with a vocal Christmas card. Another texter says, kind of reminds you of Billy Bob Thornton from Sling Blade. So several of y'all weighing in on that. 803-404-6100. You can continue to do that as we roll along. Again, reminder, basketball tonight, 6:30. We get the pregame right here on 107.5 The Game for the Gamecocks and the Tigers over at the Colonial Life Arena, 7 o'clock tip-off tonight. Joining us now to talk a little bit about that as well as some football discussion, J.C. Sherbet of thebigspur.com. Welcome in. Hope the Christmas season is going well for you. Given that you're up in the Chicago area, you have not pulled any Clark Griswold-esque moves just yet, have you?
No. Well, actually, yeah, I did. I bought an inflatable Darth Vader for the yard. My wife's in Thailand. She had to go get her parents. She gets back tomorrow morning. She was, she's a little upset. She's like, I'm not going to be able to decorate for Christmas. So we're surprising her with decorations. So for the first time in my life, I bought one of those inflatables to put out in the yard. And up here, you got these Christmas tree-looking trees. Someone put some lights up. I got the den cleaned. I got the tree up. I actually did. Now, what's funny about that movie, if you notice when they go to get the Christmas tree at the beginning, there's all these mountains. You can ask Jim. There are no mountains anywhere near Chicago. And these are like legit mountains. I'm like, did they – and no states around it either. I mean, did they go to West Virginia? But I looked it up. They apparently taped that in the mountains in California. So it's not even realistic. That's the one thing about that movie that's unrealistic. Well, I'll just go ahead and say that. So there you go.
So your a Christmas legendary movie now has been ruined because it turns out no mountains in Chicago for Clark Griswold and the family.
Near.
Nowhere near.
Not even in Wisconsin. It's all flat, dude.
Oh boy,
all flat.
Okay, I'll just stop watching that today. Then it turns out it's all fake. 803-404-6100. Weigh in throughout the hour. Craziest Christmas item you have bought? Not present. But is Darth Vader, the inflatable Darth Vader, is he at least like in a Santa outfit, or is he like holding it back? Is there something like that?
He's got a candy cane instead of a lightsaber.
803-404-6100. Weigh in. The most ridiculous, what do we call that, ornament or decoration? You got one, Preston? Have you and the wife gone down that? Who does the decorating in the Thorne house? How does this work exactly?
Oh, that's a 100% Mrs. Thorne situation. Yeah, she's very particular about that, and that's her department.
Okay, all right. I'm trying to look up Darth Vader.
I just
Christmas.
give the nod of approval.
Okay, so you're not even allowed to.
But here's the thing: I give the nod of approval every time.
Okay.
You like it here? Yep. Here. Yeah, that's better.
There you go. There you go.
Do you help get the stuff out?
You know what? You're right. I do contribute to this team. I get the stuff out and put the stuff up. So that is my contribution to the team.
Well, there you go.
And put the stuff up high also. If things need to go up higher, I put it up high.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know what? I'm going to give myself some credit for the operation.
Good job.
Yeah, I do it all. And then if they're watching me, and I'll say I have an extremely helpful household, so I really have no complaints. But I am one that I'll be schlepping it up and down the stairs, and they're just kind of watching TV. It's like, but I won't ask for help, but I'll be mad that I don't get it.
Yeah,
so I'm one of those. Yeah.
There you go. So JC, you've got the house decorated, looking nice and Christmassy. Is that what you're telling us?
No, I'm not done yet. I mean, dude, it's transfer portal season. So I've had a lot of work, but I'll be done by the time she gets home.
There you go.
Even if I have to go back to like college or certain recruiting periods during my career before signing day and pull an all-nighter, I'll do it.
Good to hear you're ready. Speaking of transfer portal season, let's start your take on South Carolina landing a defensive end, Jaylen Brown from Missouri, and then an offensive lineman from Wake Forest there to bolster depth. The defensive end from Missouri does have 3 years of eligibility. What was your take on that over the weekend?
Well, I mean, Carolina obviously lost out on Jared Smith out of the high school ranks, and to me, Bill, getting Jaylen Brown is just like getting Jared Smith, except Jaylen has a year in an SEC program. He's played SEC football. I mean, they're kind of similar guys, right down to being from the state of Alabama. So I know Jared was a 5-star or whatever, but Jaylen was a 4. So he's 6'6", 255. Some sources out at Missouri told us that he's kind of like Gaines Adams, like long-term. That's the projection, the late Gaines Adams. So that's lofty praise. Missouri really didn't want to see him go. I just think he needed a change of scenery. So that's good. I mean, I think when you kind of calculate what a player can do jumping from year 1 to year 2 at that position, he could compete for a starting job next year opposite Dylan Stewart.
And then offensive line-wise, you look at what you're bringing in. Now, I think we've talked a lot about it, the way they've recruited, and you've got guys like Trevon Ball and Marquis Anderson. You've got the really young guys there, and Blake Franks and Cam Pringle in particular. And where do you see this offensive line as we sit here, not even playing the bowl game yet, but where do you see this offensive line kind of going in 2025?
Well, I think everybody's going to compete. Beamer talks all the time about competition, and we had Darren Usher on our show, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about the offensive line a little bit. And I think, what Carolina is going to do is kind of it's going to kind of be a blend. I don't think there's really not a lot of examples of teams that go portal, like all portal on the O-line and have success. I think SMU is probably the only one that pulled it off this year. And they don't obviously play in the SEC where you got to block a lot of really talented defensive players. So I think it's just about competition. And this guy he played 330 pounds. He's big. He played 700-plus snaps at Wake Forest last year. So when you get a 330-pound guy, you're kind of worried about stamina sometimes. But he played 700-plus snaps at Wake and was really good doing it. And so, he's a guy that's going to compete on the interior with the rest of them. I think Carolina would also like a center and a tackle if they could find one in this class. South Carolina signed, I think they had the 3 guys from in-state in 2024. And then in 2025, you got the kid from Atlanta and the kid from Gaffney. So you got to carry numbers up front on the O-line. We saw what happened in 2023 at that position. Because guys get hurt, you want to have them compete. It's a hard position to play. So I'm on board with it. I think as long as the nucleus and you keep signing good high school talent on the O-line and you don't get a situation where you're too portal heavy with it, you can get a nice blend. I mean, Carolina started 2 portal guys this year at guard, and one of them is going to go play in the NFL, and Torres Simpkins. So it worked this year, and so we'll see what happens in 2025.
We'll continue talking about that. I get Preston's take a little bit on that. When you have young players on that offensive line who maybe saw a vision or what the future may be, now you bring in guys. For you back in the day, it was junior college. I think for you back in the day, it was Sean Smith that they were bringing in.
My guy.
Do you remember how it was your guy. He was your guy when he got here. But were you noticing that? Did you pay attention to that as things kind of were happening going into a year that you thought you'd be playing more?
Of course.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And how was Preston Thorne? Did it motivate you to work out more, do more?
No, it made me sick. I hated it. Why were you going to bring somebody else in? I thought I was here to play. But now you're bringing somebody else in and you essentially say, hey, you're not good enough. We need to bring another player in because we think he's better. And the other player is going to get a lot of opportunities to play all the snaps because guess what? We didn't call it back then, but we've made an investment in this guy, and we want to make sure he gets to play. So, no, I absolutely hated it. Sean Smith ended up being one of my guys. Did not like Sean Smith or any of the JUCO guys that were coming to take the spot that I thought I rightfully earned by staying and working hard and going through the program and making good grades. They're like, oh, yeah, that's all good. We need this JUCO All-American in here.
Interesting. We'll continue talking about that just because.
I mean, these guys might be better teammates than I was. I don't know.
No. You said he ended up being a good friend and still talk, I guess.
It's my guy.
Yeah. All right, it all worked out. 803-404-6100. Send in your most ridiculous Christmas decoration you've ever purchased. Texter weighs in. I have a 7-foot-tall inflatable Little Debbie Christmas tree cake. DJ in Lexington, we're going to need to see a picture.
Pics or it didn't happen.
Yeah, we're going to need to see a picture of that. A 7-foot-tall inflatable.
We don't believe it.
Little Debbie Christmas tree cake. DJ, send that in, and we'll figure out how to maybe put it on Twitter. 803-404-6100. Send in your most ridiculous Christmas tree decoration, or not Christmas tree, but your most ridiculous Christmas decoration you ever purchased. We'll see how it matches up to Darth Vader holding a candy cane. We'll see how it matches up. We'll also talk about the bowl game when we come back. You're listening to the early game.
They do say that perfection is a journey, and our journey led us to Carolina Stone Craftsman just outside Columbia in Chapin. And I'm telling you, we ended up doing some renovations in an upstairs bath and needed a countertop. They did great. We were redoing the master bathroom and needed a countertop. Fantastic. You need to go visit their showroom. It's beautiful. They'll tell you more about their commitment to affordable marble and granite and quartz. Everything sculpted with the highest craftsmanship, lots of choices, and lots of help in making those decisions. And they help you with the process every step of the way. Installation was fantastic. We couldn't be more thrilled. Once the installation was complete, they cleaned everything up just like they weren't even there. If you are in the market for countertops for your kitchen or bath, I really encourage you to reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman. And, of course, be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. They invite you to take them for granted. Yes, they do. Family-owned and operated. Carolina Stone Craftsman, just beyond Columbia in Chapin and beyond your expectations, carolinastonecraftsman.com. Out there on the highways this morning, we're seeing Clemson Road near I-20 having an issue. Accident there. Also, 321 at Whetstone in Swansea. You might find still a slowdown there due to an earlier accident, but that forecast, a little bit of patchy dense fog that should be burning off, and we'll be left with nice temperatures today. 72, 73 tomorrow, afternoon and evening showers, and then Thursday, cool, a little bit cooler. 61 for the high. We get into the 50s for Friday and the weekend. Might actually be about 46 on Sunday. A little bit cooler for the weekend, but we'll soak it up while we can. Right now, 45.
Reminder, tomorrow, again from at 6 o'clock tomorrow, a special Citrus Bowl edition of Carolina Calls with Todd Ellis and Shane Beamer. And then coming up on Thursday, it'll be Carolina Calls again with Lamont Paris and Derek Scott. So we got two editions for you this week. The Citrus Bowl edition coming up tomorrow night, Todd Ellis and Shane Beamer. And on Thursday, it'll be Carolina Calls with Lamont Paris and Derek Scott. Speaking of the Citrus Bowl, JC, one of the things that Preston and I were kicking around, we played a little bit of Demetrius Knight earlier in the program from his visit with the SEC morning crew yesterday. He talked about having something to prove. As far as we know, no opt-outs. Is that correct? Is that correct? I'm guessing everything is set in stone, and there will be no opt-outs for the bowl game.
I mean, practice just started. Beamer hasn't had media availability. The media hasn't been out there to count guys. So I wouldn't say that's set in stone. But right now, as far as to my knowledge, there's none. So that's a good thing. You see it around the country, though, Bill. We kind of had like a little bit of a backlash. And I kind of thought this opting out thing was a media creation anyway. I mean, they made Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey into heroes when they did it because the media doesn't like bowl games, blah, 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 blah. And so it became kind of a fad. But I think with NIL, these guys are getting money. That's first and foremost. Secondly, I think it's probably not cool anymore. I do think there are some players that need to opt out of the bowls. I mean, when Deebo Samuel did it, I mean, there's a guy that didn't make it through an entire season until 2018. He's down there covering punts against Akron and making guys fumble and scoring touchdowns. So it's not like he wasn't giving it his all. With him specifically, you just didn't know. I mean, and of course it paid off for him as a second-round pick, and when healthy in the NFL, he's one of the better players. So there's certainly exceptions to the rule. It's not all bad, but there's some guys that opt out have no business opting out. I mean, they're fifth-rounders. They're going to be fifth-rounders. It doesn't matter. So I think around the country you're seeing more and more. I also think what happened to Florida State last year kind of, it preys on the conscience of some guys because it's like, man, that could happen to my team. And, fundamentally, as much as everybody kind of thinks college players are entitled and all that now, fundamentally 95% of the guys are team guys. They don't want to see their teammates go get their brains beat in because they're not there off training and doing that. And, guys love football. Great players love football. And so playing football, you only get so many opportunities to play in college. This was a special team at Carolina this year, a very close-knit team. So I can't say I'm surprised by what's happening locally. And then nationally, it looks like, Shedeur Sanders is playing. Jalen Milrose is playing. Jalen Milrose playing. So there have been less big-time opt-outs this year, and I think that's good for the game and good for the bowls.
Reading an article that was sent to me, Jalen Milroe has said that he will play in. He has earned the right to play the bowl game, but he actually came across Preston. Let me bring this up. And he says the team would benefit from him sitting out. Do you agree with that?
What's the context of that? How would the team benefit from him sitting out?
Now, I'm trying to scan the article, see if there's anything specific that because I haven't seen.
The team would absolutely not benefit.
I haven't seen where he is officially declared for the NFL draft, so I don't know.
Well, when we start saying that the team will benefit, it's that everybody is facing the future. But people quickly forget about the players who are actually playing. As in, let's say if there was a Preston Thorne on the team who his last game was going to be this game, who had no hopes of the NFL, there was no future. That would not benefit me. All right, so when you say that it's going to benefit the team's moving forward, and they are moving forward without many seniors who will never play football again.
Yeah, let me just repeat what he says here is that, and I've missed this, but Jalen Milroe has said definitively he is going to play in the bowl game and has indicated that he has no intention of coming back next season. His reasoning is that this would help move or transition the quarterback depth chart for Alabama going into 2025.
I don't want you to transition. I want to win this last game that I'm playing.
JC, yeah, on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I felt like he said. Milroe's interesting. I'm on the air in Tuscaloosa every Thursday with Wimp and Barry Sanderson, and they keep talking about him opting out. Going to the transfer portal. I read that he is probably declaring. It's interesting. I can imagine, Alabama fans, they're just as passionate and, snarky and upset when they lose as any other fan base. It's just been, Josh Pate, one of my friends that's in media, called them a trust fund fan base because 17 years of greatness. I mean, they're not used to going 9-3 at all. They're not used to not being in the playoff at all. And so I can imagine the heat is probably on Milroe just as much as it is on Kalen DeBoer out there. And he did not have a good game against Oklahoma, and that's what cost him the playoffs. So I can see where he's probably ready to move on, but I also see his point. If everybody's looking forward to next year already and seeing what they got, there's no better time to start than now. So that's probably what the point he was making. I don't agree with him. I agree with Preston. Win the game.
One other thing I want to bring up with both of you here, and I think this is interesting. This is from James Franklin, who Preston has no love for. Doesn't think that James Franklin. Somebody brought this up yesterday. We were talking about teams that could make a run and win the college football playoff, and somebody said, "Well, James Franklin would have to win 3 big games. He can't win 3 in 3 seasons. He's definitely not winning 3 in basically 6 weeks."
1 in 18 versus top 5 teams. Just to throw that out there. But continue.
He goes and he says, and let me listen to what happened. I'm going to use an example that's actually really interesting, but James Franklin says we've got a real problem with the transfer portal taking place while the college football playoff is taking place. And let me give you an example of what exactly he is talking about, because this is interesting if you haven't caught this. Clemson had a wide receiver transfer to Arizona State, Noble Johnson. Are you two both aware of this? I want to make sure we're all aware of this.
Continue.
If Clemson were to beat Texas, they would play Arizona State in the second round. Who do you think Noble Johnson is willing to help? Now, he can't play. He can't play. Mind you, he's not playing. He's a transfer. But Noble Johnson, a Clemson wide receiver, has transferred to Arizona State, his future team. Mm-hmm. If Clemson beats Texas, I don't think they will. Go ahead and give my pick away there. But if Clemson were to beat Texas on Saturday, they would play Arizona State in the Peach Bowl, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, but in the second round of the playoffs on January 1st. You've got a player who's played for Clemson all year that is now, I guess, part of the Arizona State. He's not playing, but I guess is now on the Arizona State roster. Maybe is there. I don't know. But think about that phrase. Give me y'all's thoughts on that. A Clemson player basically defecting at the end of the year, Noble Johnson. I'm not even sure that I don't know if he's going through. I don't know if he's. I'm assuming Dabo Swinney's told him to go ahead and leave. We're not taking you to Austin, Texas. You're not prepping and preparing to play the Texas game. But you've got a Clemson player, and if Clemson were to beat Texas, they would play Arizona State, where Noble Johnson is transferred to. JC, I'll start with you, and then I'll get Preston's thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's probably a little uncomfortable, I would think. As far as helping Arizona State, probably I would if that matchup comes to pass, and you're ASU, why not? But sometimes that stuff gets overrated. Players, when you come up with a game plan, you're kind of looking at tendencies and stuff. We have helmet communication, so the signal stealing is not as, prevalent as maybe it once was. So I don't know, but I will say it is uncomfortable. I kind of agree with James Franklin in some ways. In other ways, though, you have anybody in the playoffs or anybody in a bowl game, everybody's got 5 extra days after that game to get in the portal. So there is some time. It's not a lot of time, but it is some time. And so, why not wait? The big problem you're going to have is with those handful of teams that may get to the semis and beyond, because school starts. The spring term or the next term, for those on the quarter system, starts anywhere from the 1st of January till toward the end of January. So you got to get into school. It's still college football. You got to be admitted and go to class and things like that. And colleges aren't really fired up about letting guys just roll in 2 weeks into the semester and sign up. You do have mid-semester classes. I know when I was at Carolina, I took a couple of mini-mester, I guess it started in March, classes one year. And so they do have those, but it's still kind of weird. So I think, I think those teams are going to be the ones with the issues. If you have a guy that's definitely getting in or wanting to get in, it's probably best for them to go ahead and do it. So that's yet another thing coaches are going to have to navigate. You keep those guys on the team. What do you do? In Penn State, their backup quarterback actually plays Pribula for them and scores touchdowns. And he apologized that he had to get in the portal, but he felt like he needed to. So, I see big game James's point on that.
John weighs in. Seriously doubt he's going to do anything dirty. He's a noble man. Good job, John. Good job. 803-404-6100. I'll get back to some of these ridiculous Christmas decorations y'all bought. We'll get Preston's thoughts on that as a player. What you think about Noble, John? I think Texas is going to win. I think it's going to be irrelevant. But you could see a scenario like this where, you got a player transferring that could end up helping Arizona State. And I don't put it above anybody to be like, hey, what can we do? What are some of their signals? What are some of their calls? How do they run some of their route? Some of the things like that. I'll get your take on that when we come back. We'll get a few more things from JC on a couple potential transfers that are out there that could visit South Carolina. We'll talk some basketball as well. You're listening to the Early Game. Bill Gunner for the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder and First Palmetto Bank. Again, it's almost the end of 2024, and you might be thinking about what you're going to do with your home in 2025. Maybe you're going to refinance. Maybe you're looking to upgrade, or maybe you're thinking about the kids moving out and it's time to downsize a little bit. Well, the first thing you got to do is check in and see what interest rates are available to you, what plans are available. And First Palmetto Bank, locally owned and operated right here in the middle, so you can get quick and precise underwriting. You can get the answers that you need.
Clemson Road near I-20 still working that earlier tie-up. And also 321 at Whetstone in Swansea. An accident there. That forecast looking pretty nice. 72 today, 73 tomorrow. A couple afternoon or evening showers tomorrow. By Thursday, we hit 61, 59 on Friday. Great forecast really on the way. 45 as we speak on the early game.
I think Kenny would be on the side of Preston Thorne against James Franklin in pretty much anything, because if I'm reading this text correctly from Kenny talking about James Franklin complaining about his backup quarterback transferring out, Kenny says, "Woe is me. I'm sorry your backup quarterback is leaving. It could be worse. Look at my Marshall Thundering Herd. Pretty much lost their whole team to the portal." Hopefully we can help with the transfer portal mess. So thank you, Kenny, for joining in on Preston's.
Appreciate that perspective, Kenny.
A couple of y'all weighing in also on your most ridiculous.
We do have a leader in the clubhouse. We have been certified with the Little Debbie picture.
Now, I don't know if this counts because Ronnie didn't send a picture, but he says, my wife puts up a Clemson tree in the kitchen. Hideous. Luckily not up this year. Good job. And then we've got another person who texted in. Let me see if I go back and find it. David. David said, I have a 10-foot tall dinosaur eating a Christmas tree inflatable. David, we're going to need you to send a picture of that as well.
Pixar didn't happen.
We did get DJ's picture here, and he has multiple. He's got a small Santa, a little train engine, a Christmas tree, a snowman. Looks like maybe two Christmas presents, and then yes, a very tall 7-foot Little Debbie Christmas tree cake.
Didn't know that even existed.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And we got a text in as well from Zach, who gave us the link to buy at littledebbie.com the Little Debbie Christmas tree cake inflatable. So yes,
that's hysterical.
DJ leading the way on that. We really for 2025 need to get shirts made, and when people win these contests, we just send them a PB&J shirt.
I like it.
Check into that.
And maybe that's. I was going to say a picture of us with like peanut butter and jelly kind of on the face or something, but I don't want pictures of us because I actually want people to enjoy it and wear it. So.
Yeah, JC, last week we had a caller call in and say with Preston, Bill, and Jen, we should be the PB&J show, which made sense, and apparently we're all on board with. Not sure how you feel about. You got a hot take real quick, about a minute hot take on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches?
I don't eat them. A lot of football teams eat the crustless ones like crazy, like during training camp and stuff. So they sell. It's just good business to be in. But I like peanut butter, and who doesn't like jelly? But like on biscuits, I don't put jelly on my biscuits. I put butter on them, if anything, or sausage gravy. So I'm not. When I was a kid, I ate peanut butter and jelly, but not a big consumer of that as an adult.
For those that do not remember, this was a story covered here on the early game from The Athletic. The Denver Broncos lead the NFL in weekly Uncrustable consumption at 700 Uncrustables per week.
Oh.
That's quite the budget. When they're doing the line items and the budgets for next year, it's like, really, do we have to spend this much on Uncrustables? Like, can somebody not be in there making sandwiches and then use like a juice glass or something to cut the corners off?
Well, a couple of the teams that are known for being frugal, i.e. the Cincinnati Bengals, for some reason they don't eat a lot of Uncrustables. I'd imagine because Arthur Brown doesn't buy a lot. He's like, we're not buying that. So
maybe each week, maybe it's a rotating thing, kind of like snacks in the kids when they play baseball and stuff like that. Maybe, okay, it's your week to bring the Uncrustables. Each player has to.
Bring a box. Go to Costco or Sam's.
There you go.
Hit them up. There you go. I'll get to more of these ridiculous Christmas decorations. Wes has sent me a picture of, I'm going to have to, in the break, count how many inflatables he's got in his yard. I believe I see a dinosaur in the back. There is also a large horse with a wreath around it and other things. I'll have to show Preston this picture here during the break and get his take on that. Let's get back to a little bit of transfer portal discussion. JC, news coming out I believe over the weekend, I believe it was the Big Spur who reported it, or it might have been, I can't remember, but Alabama running back Justice Haynes will visit South Carolina. Also, it looks like maybe visit Mississippi. What are you hearing on this situation and bringing in what was once a former 5-star running back recruit who did okay at Alabama, maybe didn't take off the way some thought he might, but at Alabama, there's a lot of good players. Your thoughts on South Carolina's position here?
Well, a lot of people are kind of wondering, and this is kind of part of one of those new era 101 things that we all got to get used to. They're, what's wrong with Jordan Howell and Matt Fuller and Oscar Attaway? Absolutely nothing, but how many guys did I just name? 3. Think about what happened in 2023. How many running backs were healthy at the end of the year? One. Think back to 2011, Brandon Wiles was 15 at the beginning of the year and ended up starting and rushing for like 600 yards down the stretch. So in this league, at that position, you got to care. I think it's 4 you can squeak by with, 5 is preferable. South Carolina, Rocket missed the one game and probably wasn't 100% with against Ole Miss, but he held up this year. But that's kind of atypical at that spot. So you need depth. I'm certainly not saying Justice Haynes is just coming in as a depth feast because he's a talented guy. I looked at his carries, Bill, and he didn't really get a chance to kind of get going. And in high school, he was kind of a volume back. He got a lot of carries and rushed for a lot of yards. Jam Miller seemed to be the guy that they went to at running back more than him. I think 13 carries was his high. It was against South Florida early in the year. He did score 7 touchdowns, though. And I think he's talented. His dad is Veron Haynes, and I'll take you back to 2001. Georgia at Tennessee. They just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot. That's a famous play, and that was Veron Haynes. They caught that pass from David Green for Georgia, and he went on to play for the Steelers and now does a lot of charity work and works in the media. So there's NFL bloodlines there as well. Ole Miss, I know they're kind of a pain in the butt in the portal for most teams, but some of our national guys keep talking up Michigan. Now, same people talked up Ohio State with Austin Stogner a couple of years ago, and that guy was done for Carolina the entire time. So I don't know if they're just assuming with that. I think Michigan's had a few backs named Justice, so there's probably that subconscious thing going. Or Michigan could end up getting him. I don't know, but he's visiting Thursday, and I think that Carolina is going to roll out the red carpet for him. I think they really, really are high on his abilities as a running back to come in here and compete and get that depth and, get a guy that, a lot like some of these other guys they've got from the portal. Maybe it didn't work out as well statistically at the former school, but you got talent and Carolina can get the most out of it and get to play with Lenore Sellers. So he would be a definitely worthy pickup. I think even if they don't get him, they're going to have to probably get a running back just because of, like I mentioned, those are 3 good guys, but the numbers just they get a little dicey with one injury. So that's the thought process there. But I heard before he even got in the portal that, Carolina was hopeful that a certain talented back would get in, and I'm pretty sure it's him. So we'll see what happens. Thursday's a big day.
We'll wrap things up here, talk about the basketball game tonight with J.C. Sherbet. Again, pregame 6:30 right here, 107.5 The Game. Tip-off 7 o'clock. We'll come back, get J.C.'s thoughts on what I'm calling a must-win game for South Carolina against Clemson. We'll get J.C.'s take, also a little bit of Preston's here, and then we'll roll into hour number 3. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Midstate Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and the family have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And the reason is because they think about your roof 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's 7:44 right now on a Tuesday morning. But if you have discovered a leak, you need to let Midstate Roofing take a peek. And if you give them a phone call, they will have someone ready to answer. Whether it's an on-call technician or a Midstate Roofing employee, Midstate Roofing is there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, ready to help you with any roofing needs you have, whether it may be your home whether it may be your business, Midstate Roofing wants to make sure that your operation stays dry and running long into the future. So give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. They can help you with a maintenance contract. For more information, you can visit them on the web, midstateroofing.com. But again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Bill Gunner for the Egan Law Firm. If you've received one of those nasty notices, those mean notices from the IRS that are keeping you up at night, harassing you a little bit, now you're concerned and you don't know what to do, I got the easy solution for you. You call the Egan Law Firm. Start with a free consultation. They'll take the stress and the worry away. Let them handle it with proven local solutions. 803-771-9800. Whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, Aiken, Augusta, wherever you are at this morning, if you've received one of these notices from the IRS and it's causing you to lose sleep, stressing you out this time of year, don't let that happen. Call John Egton and his team. They know how to navigate the IRS maze, and they have done it with thousands of families and businesses just like yours. They have gotten them out of trouble with the IRS, and they can help you too, but you got to make the phone call. 803-771-9800. Call the Egton Law Firm today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. .48 as we get you ready for tonight's South Carolina Clemson basketball game. The Tigers ranked in the top 25 at number 25. The Gamecocks a 2.5-point underdog tonight. This is according to ESPN Bet. That is a game that JC, Preston's heard me say this now for 2 days. It's as close as you get to a must-win scenario. South Carolina can lose this game and go 12-6 in the SEC and get into the NCAA tournament. But you need a marquee non-conference victory, JC, and that's what Preston and I have kind of discussed a little bit, to kind of make that resume pop a little more, to flash a little bit more when we get to Selection Sunday. This is your last non-conference opportunity to earn that.
Yeah, it's a big one. The SEC's overall net ranking as a conference is insane. So there will be many quad one opportunities coming up. But you're right. Clemson's sitting there at 19. They've got a fantastic basketball team this year, I think. They're very physical. Kind of like, it's like Brad Brunell's teams always are, except they got players, like really good players. And it's going to be tough. South Carolina's going to have the best rebounding game they've had. They're going to have to play defense like they did at Boston College and against Virginia Tech. And they're going to have to shoot the ball well tonight to win the game. I think a low-scoring game probably benefits South Carolina, kind of an ugly one. But the guys on the front line, Nick Friegel, Colin Murray-Boyles, whoever's down there with that, they have to have really good basketball games tonight, I think, for Carolina to have a chance to win. I mean, I agree with Clemson being favored in the game. They're the better team coming in, but certainly a great opportunity for the Gamecocks. Who, record-wise, Bill, this is that North Florida game that kind of, in the opener, that's kind of clouding it. I mean, they could be 8-2 right now with 2 losses to 2 really good basketball teams on the docket. But it's, that North Florida game, this would be a way to cancel that thing out, in my opinion.
Real quick, your thoughts on playing the game this time of year? We listened to Lamont Paris earlier talk about scheduling and when to fit this game in. Growing up, I don't know if Preston necessarily remembers it. JC, I'm sure you do. Growing up, I remember this game being played more in February. I'm going way back here into the 80s and the early portion of the 90s. Then I remember the great Eddie Fogler, Rick Barnes clashes that would occur in December. It's always been the great conundrum, if you will. When do you play this game? And this one will be played after exams are over. I said it, Columbia is still a place where students still kind of hang around. But your thoughts on the timing of this game, and if there is a great time of the year, November, or if it's just got to always be in December, or if you try and fit it in, weasel it in somewhere in conference play. Your thoughts on the timing of this game?
I liked it the year they played it in Lamont's first year when they played it before the Clemson football game in November. I mean, in general, I think college basketball starts way too early, and it sucked the life out of the pre-conference in every market but the ones that really care about basketball. Because, there's football going on in November. They play all these games. December used to be a big month. You used to have Christmas Classic tournaments and all that. Well, now they take a week off for exams and a week off for Christmas, and it's Cupcake City. And then nobody cares until January. And we wonder why some places that, don't have good attendance. That's why. But if you're going to start it that early, why not play that game when you played it a couple of years ago? I mean, that was a good crowd. Students are there. It's a lot better than watching, some of the other teams that they come in. It's a rivalry. Get it out of the way. Georgia and Georgia Tech play a little earlier than Carolina, Clemson, and Florida State for years. I don't know if they did that this year. For years, they play it the Friday before the football game. It would be at the opposite campus, but I don't have a problem with that either. I think that would get a lot more interest into the game. I expect a good crowd tonight for sure, but with students not being there in basketball, those are your guys that yell and scream and are close to the court and during foul shots, detrimental, I think, for the interest in it. Yeah, and here's the big problem: the geniuses that came up with the net, they want to count all those games the same as a conference game in January, February, and that's ridiculous. So I wish they would look at that a little bit. I don't see them going anywhere. I mean, it's just, these types of announcements and stuff are kind of spread out over time, and there's always the back and forth, and that's just part of business. But it would be the most shocking and detrimental news I could possibly think of. I mean, I'd rather those drones in New Jersey be aliens than for that to happen. And so I don't, but I think I'm pretty safe on that. So I think we'll be good.
Appreciate it. Try and catch up with you next week. Have a great rest of the week, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
We'll come back. Hour 3 on the way.
It's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. All the demolition we had to do in our kitchen. We had new cabinets that had to be installed. And I'm telling you, CHW Cabinetry was so helpful. Once we picked everything out, got the design figured out, we got those photorealistic renderings that were really helpful because it was a picture of our finished kitchen, which, like I've said before, makes a big difference when you're trying to pick out everything else to get your kitchen put together. Kitchens, though, that's not all they do. We redid an upstairs bathroom and got cabinetry for that. And then we just redid our master bath where we also got cabinetry from CHW. And again, great experience, super thrilled. They can also help you update your pantry, maybe update some of the hanging racks in your closet. Maybe you want that a little more functional. If you're looking to make a little home office space, they can help you with that as well. Just visit CHWCabinetry.com to learn more. Call them today at 803-520-6837. Be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation. And out there on the highways right now, we are looking at Lexington Hills Parkway at Riglaw Circle, an accident there, and still trying to get things cleaned up. 321 at Whetstone in Swansea. That forecast for you, 73 today, or 72 today. Gosh, that'll make a difference. 73 tomorrow with some afternoon and evening showers rolling in. 61 for Thursday, 59 for Friday. Pretty decent right now. And the fog is burning off. 44 currently on 107.5 The Game.
Hi, everybody. I found out cars could talk, and knowing that people like to hear me talk, I figured I'd put my voice inside this card and tell you happy holiday. My favorite part is the food: ham, deep fried turkey, collard greens, dressing, macaroni and cheese, green bean, candy yam, cranberry sauce, deviled egg, red velvet cake, and gingerbread. Every year I make a gingerbread man and build them a cute little gingerbread house so they can have a cute little gingerbread life. Do gingerbread things like getting eaten. They're scrumptious, don't you think? Anyway, happy holidays from me and Fanatic.
I don't know. Close?
Close, Preston.
It could work.
It could work.
It could work. On Xavier might be getting some work in the reboot of Forrest Gump, maybe coming in, I don't know, about 10 years or so when they do reboots.
But actually, he's a little more Southern to me than Bubba Gump.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. No, he's
the real deal.
He is. The opening was Xavier Legette giving us a vocal Christmas card, as he said. He learned that you can put your voice in a Christmas card, and that's exactly what he did, Preston. And he hit off all the great menu items that he enjoys for Christmas. I guess Christmas dinner or just the month of Christmas.
I don't know. I don't know. We'd have to get some more clarification on that because he did set the internet ablaze when he was talking about the coon that he was eating for Thanksgiving. So he went a little bit more mainstream for Christmas. I don't know if that was due to the script or what that was, but yeah, a little more mainstream.
So we've got that we've been hitting up. We do consider ourselves a foodie show, and so we, of course, anytime Xavier Legette is going to bring up food, we like to do that, and Christmas cards, so we'll continue to roll through that. Tonight, again, basketball over at Colonial Life Arena. Preston, you with me? Must win. Not ready to label it the biggest game of Lamont Paris's career, but we're going to go.
That's a different category.
That's a different category, but it is as close to a must-win for this season as you're going to have because you look down the pipe, and yesterday the top 25 came out. The top 25, and I know you want to get to this later on this hour, but I'm going to tease it a little bit about the SEC as a power conference. Yesterday, top 25 comes out. Tennessee and Auburn are 1 and 2. Kentucky's 4. Alabama is 6. Florida is 7. That is 5. We talk about the football strength, and it just means more football. But that's 5 SEC teams in the top 10 alone. Then you go outside of the top 10. A&M is at 12. Oklahoma, who is 10-0 on the season and fell a spot somehow, is now 14. Mississippi is 17 in the top 25 right now. You keep going a little bit further, and that's all you got right now. 7. Is it 7 or 8? Lost track on my hands here. 8. 8 of the top 25 teams come from the SEC. So half of the conference is ranked, and that's kind of what we're talking about is you go into conference play, it's no cream puffs. It's no cupcakes. It's not chopped liver.
No chopped liver on that. Well, the article was really interesting because Cal was saying that he used to, at Kentucky, go through the schedule and pretty much mark off wins.
Right.
And when he was going through the schedule, he thought to himself, wait, are we the team that teams are marking off as the W? And so things have sort of changed for him, but it just speaks to the collective strength of the league.
Yeah, again, 8 of the top 25 teams. So that's why I label it because that's going to be it's going to be a lot for South Carolina to navigate. A gauntlet. Yeah, it's going to be a lot for the Gamecocks to have to navigate. And again, you can lose tonight. And you can run through the SEC, and you can go 12-6, and you're going to pick up more than enough victories to get you into the NCAA tournament, and that would be awesome. But as I just rattled off, as you said, gauntlet, you see how difficult it's going to be. Just getting to 500 in this conference would be quite a feat for this team.
Well, I think when you say must win, it's with the asterisk of saying if your goal is to get to the NCAA tournament. Yeah. I mean, if you just want to have a solid season where we win a couple of games, but what we've hoped was that the program had advanced past that. And if we're talking NCAA tournament or bust, essentially, then yes, this is a must-win game for that.
After tonight, South Carolina will have 2 more non-conference games. Radford on December 22nd, coming up on Sunday at 2 p.m., and Presbyterian on December the 30th. So you would assume you'd win those 2 games for the Gamecocks. That would be here's another reason that tonight is must win. You're assuming that you win those two, Radford and PC. Tonight would get you to double-digit non-conference victories, 10. You'd feel it's not what you want because you've lost to Xavier and you've lost to Indiana, and, of course, there's that North Florida game. But 10 would be a nice round number to hit for non-conference play.
Well, yeah, you want to win the games that you're supposed to. That take care of business, and that's what we call this. But I don't think Clemson falls in that category. But according to Vegas and according to the lines, essentially a toss-up, right? So go out there with the home court advantage and go win the game.
One other thing, to open SEC play. Now, Mississippi State fell out of the rankings, but Mississippi State was ranked last week. But you open on Saturday, January the 4th, at Mississippi State. That'll be followed up by number 6 Alabama and number 2 Auburn. And we saw what happened against Auburn every time they played last year. But number 6 Alabama, number 2 Auburn, those will be home games. Then you get a breather, Vanderbilt on Wednesday the 15th, and that's followed up by number 14 Oklahoma and number 7 Florida. So, again, going back to what we're talking about, that's 4 of your first 6 SEC games coming against top 15 opponents. Throw in Clemson tonight at number 25, and if you back that out, that is 5 of your next 9 games as of today, as of these AP Top 25 games, 5 of your next 9 games coming against top 25 opponents.
Good.
Or 5 of your next 8, I should say.
Good.
5
That's
of
where
your
you're
next
supposed to
8.
be. Hopefully, if you win those games, you can be counted amongst those top 25. Because right now, you don't want to be in a half that's not in the top 25.
By the way, as things sit today, as they said, rankings will fluctuate, teams will move. We all know that. But South Carolina's SEC conference schedule features 9 games, half of the games as of today against top 20 opponents in conference. So if you're kind of wondering about that. But that's why I think tonight is really as close as you can get to a must-win situation. Again, right now, Clemson minus 2.5 is the spread for tonight. 803-404-6100. Deep-fried ham? I think he said deep-fried turkey. I didn't hear deep-fried ham.
I believe you said deep-fried turkey.
But, yeah, deep-fried turkey, not ham. And Dr. Bulldog weighs in on the top 25 and says Georgia should be ranked. And, yes, Georgia's playing very well as well. 803-404-6100. Again, how you can weigh in. You got anything you're looking for in tonight's basketball game? Anything? You said it. This is for you kind of. It's not that you haven't watched.
It's the first game of the year for me.
Yeah.
As I said, the game against Indiana was tucked away on Peacock. I tried to sneak a peek at that. I saw them play at South Carolina State a little bit. Bits and pieces of Xavier and Virginia Tech. This will be the first game where I sit down pregame and watch them start to finish. And so, I wonder if I'm speaking for a lot of people whose attention may have been frayed by football. You know, it's having such a great football season. Maybe they got thrown off the scent by us losing that early game. That probably turned a lot of people off, and maybe rightfully. But this is your first time to get back in, and so I am looking forward to watching the team for the first time this year.
Yeah, nothing against what Lamont Paris tried to do. I like the schedule and how he set it up, but let's be honest, South Carolina State, Towson, Mercer, even Boston College didn't really draw your attention. And then East Carolina was on a Saturday. You kind of talked about it. East Carolina was on.
That was on some weird streaming too, right?
Off the top of my head, I believe only.
It was a 12 o'clock
I believe
game.
only Xavier and Virginia Tech and Boston College have been on legitimate television. Peacock broadcast the Indiana game. And the thing about that Indiana game that people might have just glossed over, it was a 3 o'clock tip-off, and it was on the same day that South Carolina beat Missouri. They hated Eli Drinkwitz. So, yeah, even in a loss, it kind of got overshadowed by the incredible game against Missouri and Rocket Sanders' final touchdown, and we were like, we didn't even talk about the Indiana game until like Wednesday of that week, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, and then you went into Clemson week, and we started hyping up Clemson week, and that was the week of the Fort Myers tip-off with Xavier and Virginia Tech. And by the way, those were late. The Xavier game was late, like an 8:30 tip-off. So, yeah, that was kind of a situation where, to your point, maybe you weren't tuning in or paying as much attention as you typically would.
Well, they'll have everybody's full of attention tonight. It's Clemson. It's home, mid-season. Just need to get things done.
Be very big, very big. Again, 2.5-point underdog going into tonight's game. You win this one, it doesn't guarantee anything, but it gives you a very nice resume builder and should guarantee, nothing is, I guess, guaranteed, but Radford Presbyterian on deck should get you to 10 victories in the non-conference, 3 losses. I think you'd be okay with that. Also, this would kind of offset that North Florida loss to start the season. 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in. We'll get you a little bit more from Lamont Paris, but we talked about it. Refunds, Preston Thorne. Refunds. Mike Norvell. We'll let Preston Thorne explain that when we come back. You're listening to the early game.
I was saying, can we maybe do something fun this morning?
Sure.
Something related to maybe the game tonight?
Always up for it.
Whatever you want to do.
I may have a pair of tickets in my pocket that that maybe if somebody wants to go to the game tonight. What caller do we think we should take right now?
Let's take 3. How about 3 for a 3-pointer?
Ooh, okay.
Is that good with you?
I'm good with that. Okay.
All right. Well, we'll take caller number 3 right now. 803-404-6100. You can win yourself a pair of tickets to tonight's basketball game. Give us a call right now. 803-404-6100. Caller number 3. We'll come back and we'll talk a little Mike Norvell. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic. Look, guys, as we go into 2025, one thing that you need to really focus on is your health. If you've been experiencing some issues, if you've had brain fog and you're forgetting things, if maybe you're not recovering from workouts quick enough, if maybe you're struggling at home a little bit, don't have the energy you used to, well, guess what? You need to call Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic. They believe that every guy should live their absolute best life, and that's what they're in business to do. To treat you like an individual, not just give you general medical care. And this is something you need to talk about. Sometimes we think we're big, tough, strong. We shrug off some of these issues. We just chalk it up to getting older, and that's not always the case. Call today and line up an appointment and talk with Dr. Dan Balknight, 803-875-MENS. If you want more information, go to their website, themensclinicsc.com, or again, call today and line up an appointment, 803-875-MENS. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Clemson Road at Earth Road, an accident there. Also, Ermine at Highway 1. I-20 westbound at Broad River Road, an accident. And Lexington Hills Parkway at Riglaw Circle. Also, a report of a tie-up there. That forecast looking pretty darn nice. 72 is what we're looking for today. 73 tomorrow. Could see an afternoon or evening shower coming in, and then that'll get cleared out. A little bit cooler for Thursday. 61 for the high, but not too bad. Fog is burning off. It's 44 currently at 107.5 The Game.
$8:18 as we get you up and get you going. Reminder, tomorrow from 9 to 12, Gamecock Central will take over Firehouse Subs at 542 Knox Abbott Drive in Casey, not far from where we are at right now. But you can go and hang out with Tyler and the Gamecock Central guys 9 a.m. to 12 tomorrow over at Firehouse Subs, 542 Knox Abbott Drive in Casey is where they'll be. So stop by and grab yourself a Firehouse Sub, speak with the guys, talk a little recruiting, talk a little Gamecock bowl game. They'll be there at Firehouse Subs, 542 Knox Abbott Drive over in Casey. Let's get out to the phone lines. Danny wants to weigh in on Dabo Swinney this morning. Danny, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Hey, I just want to drop a few lines. I've never liked Clemson. I'm a diehard Carolina fan. I've lived in Chapin, lived in Columbia all my life. But Dabo, he's a hypocrite. Said he'd never go to the transfer portal. Look at him. He's talking about Clemson got plenty of money. Come on. So he's inviting players to come from the transfer portal now and come to that flag planting ordeal. It's okay for his team to do it down here on our stadium, but he wants to turn the card when it's done on his field. That's just my thoughts. And go Gamecocks, and the hell with Clemson. Thank you.
Got to sometimes get things off your chest. It's okay, Danny. I was sitting out there. Clemson did take a transfer portal wide receiver over the weekend, and so they are at least dabbling. Clemson has taken transfer portal guy. They took Hunter Johnson. Most of us are on the backup quarterback. So this isn't a brand new thing for Clemson, Preston. But, yeah, a little bit. Dabo, realizing if you make a lot of money, sometimes you got to be willing to adjust a little bit.
Yeah, when facts change, you got to change your mind. And so I don't know if it's necessarily a hypocrite, because even when you go back to the statement that he said about the day that they start paying players, I'll be out of this. He said that those were the words that he said, but in context of how it was said, whatever. I'll grant him some leeway. Also, where are you going, Dabo?
Also, remember, he said they technically do take transfers. They take them coming from high school for the Tigers. Not rated, by the way, not rated in the 24/7 Sports transfer rankings for whatever it's worth. But Clemson did take one. Another guy who's having to adjust a little bit, make some changes, Preston, Mike Norvell.
Mike Norvell deserves a round of applause for being the most generous man in just feeling the holiday spirit. Mike Norvell was so compelled by the spirit of Christmas and the feeling of giving that he decided that he wanted to contribute $4.5 million of his own money back to Florida State because he was just such in a giving spirit. For those that don't know, Mike Norvell is making a contribution to the university of $4.5 million to help aid in revenue sharing as Florida State tries to put together a budget, as many athletic departments are trying to do for the first time, where they're trying to figure like, hey, I have a real expense here. As I've said, this is very similar to how when I was working my little job in high school, I thought I had a lot of money. No, I didn't have a lot of money. I just wasn't paying any real bills. And so I thought I could go out and buy all of these clothes and buy these sneakers with my little $300 check because I thought I was rich. Only to find out, oh, no, you're not rich, Preston. You're just not paying insurance. You're just not paying the phone bill. And I think a lot of athletic departments are finding out like, oh, you mean all this money that we've been storing away, that we haven't been paying we mean we have to account for this? Oh, we have to do a budget? What is this? Hey, Mike Norvell, we're going to need some of that back. $4.5 million of it.
So what it is here, number one, let's go back a year ago. Norvell last year got a contract extension and a raise. He went to $9.9 million. $9.9 million. Well, on Monday, Norvell agreed to a restructured contract that includes a $4.5 million contribution to launch the Vision of Excellence Initiative, a fundraising campaign that seeks to immediately raise Florida State athletics to new heights of comprehensive excellence by setting ambitious goals for the future. By the way, I'll read this again. I want you to catch all the little adjectives and everything that are in here again.
It's called ChatGPT.
A fundraising campaign, a Vision of Excellence Initiative, a fundraising campaign that seeks to immediately raise Florida State's athletics to new heights of comprehensive excellence by setting ambitious goals for the future of the student-athlete experience, coaching, which he's a coach, facilities, and fan engagement.
ChatGPT, make it more engaging. We need more personal, please. We need more buzzwords. Not enough buzzwords in this. My question is this $4.5 million per year? Because he's getting $9 million per year.
No, it looks like it looks like it's a one-time donation of $4.5 million.
These lights got to come on every day, every year. Mike, I need you to pay that $4.5 every year, sir.
LSU
and is this $4.5 over 4 years? Like when they just throw out these things, we need.
I like to think
details.
that he just stroked a check for $4.5 million. Yesterday,
I don't know. But I do think it's curious. You know, we say they throw out, he's giving $4.5 million. Well, how long is that for? Is this over 20 years? Is this right now? Is this over a year? We need to know these details. We know the details of your contract. Let's find out what these other things are. Because $4.5 million spread over 20 years, I could do that, like a mortgage. But $4.5 million coming out of my pocket today might hurt a little bit. So what are we doing with this?
Well, number one, he is not letting it go public, much like Mike Gundy had to do. As it points out, Gundy got into a standoff with Oklahoma State to either take a new deal or get fired.
And also, if I never had the $4.5 million, am I losing it? I don't know. I mean, what is happening here? Is he really contributing it if he never had it? Is this future earned money? What's going on with this? A lot of funny money happening here.
Speaking of which, you say funny money. Speaking of which, later today, South Carolina's Board of Trustees will be meeting. Now, some of this is still a little vague as to what all is going to happen. And by that, what I mean is I'm assuming that Shane Beamer is in line for an obvious extension, but maybe even another pay raise. Does he go over $7 million? Does he get closer to $8 million? I'm assuming that part of this today is for maybe Clayton White to get an extension, to maybe bolster his so that it makes him harder to take away, maybe up his buyout a little bit.
What is the exact wording for the ledger? Do we have that? The wording, because I think it was personnel arrangements or something along those lines.
Let me pull it back up here and read you the exact wording. It does point out, and by the way, one that we do know of is that this will be for Mike Shula's contract. We do know that to be true.
Is Mike Norvell on the hook for this money if he gets fired? Or is he like, hey, man, y'all fired me. I don't have to pay it?
That's a good question if it's over time.
These questions need to be asked.
It says that the proper wording for today's South Carolina Board of Trustees meeting is approval of football personnel agreements.
Ooh,
approval
mysterious.
Of football personnel agreements is
Who's
listed.
Personnel? Are players personnel? Are we talking about revenue sharing here? What are we doing?
That is going to begin at about 1:30 today is when that is scheduled to take place.
I think Preston needs to be outside the door with a microphone, ready to go. He has the questions.
Or the glass, just the glass.
Well, that would be good too. Yeah.
Listening in.
I just need to hear what's going on.
So keep an eye out for that today. And by the way, as someone points out, agreements, plural.
See?
So it's not just, unless whoever wrote it up was in a hurry and left on the S. Mike Shula is one we expect today. Maybe Clayton White, maybe something new for Shane Beamer. But yes, coming up today, that is scheduled to begin about 1:30 when I guess they enter that portion of it. So we'll see.
Just think about Mike going home and being like, babe, listen, I know we had some things.
Walks through the door. She's like, I got another Christmas tree, but this one I got the big one. They're like, well, can it go back? What's the refund policy on that?
I know we said we was going to do some things, but listen, we got to restructure some things around the Norvell household.
Did he maybe come home to a big Little Debbie cake in his yard? Was like, how much? What's the cost on that thing? Pack it back up, deflate it, pack it back up, and send it. See if we can get the refund in 5 to 7 business days.
How will I ever make it on just $5 million? We're going to be struggling forever. It's going to be tough.
What did you buy the kids for Christmas? Send it back. They'll be fine. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. Preston wants to get into tonight's game. We mentioned it. I'm saying it's a must-win. Reason being, South Carolina's got 9 ranked games. 9 of the 18 conference games come against currently ranked teams. The SEC right now has 8 of the 16 teams ranked. Preston poses the question. SEC, Power Conference. We'll let him get into it. You're listening to the early game. Oh, by golly. You know the rest of the words. You need to have a holly jolly Christmas. Well, you know what? At Love Chevrolet, that is exactly what is happening. It is the holly jolly season at Love Chevrolet because right now they have year-end savings that you simply cannot miss. Go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, where right now they have got the biggest discounts of the year. And with the 14 acres of brand new Chevys, they've got their most abundant selection that they have had in decades. Go find out for yourself. Go drive on out. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You can visit them on the web as well, lovechevy.com. But go see that incredible sales staff. Let them walk you around the lot. You're guaranteed to find the car, truck, SUV that you've been looking for, and it's going to have the interior, the exterior, the make, the model, everything. You are going to find it at Love Chevrolet. So get out to Love Chevrolet today, and together, let's drive.
Still working that earlier tie-up, Clemson Road at Earth Road, also Ermine at Highway 1, in downtown Columbia, Hampton at Hugie Street. Also Hardin between Taylor and Colonial Drive, indicating an accident there. I-20 westbound at Broad River Road, Langford Road at Main Street, and in Lexington, Old Cherokee at Old Chapin. 72 for the high today, 73 with a couple showers tomorrow afternoon and into the evening, 73 that high. Cooling off just a little bit for Thursday, 61. And right now the sun is working its way out. It's 45.
.35 as we get you going here on your Tuesday morning. I know I've mentioned it several times. I want to remind you, big basketball game tonight, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip-off. You can hear it all right here at 107.5 The Game. Game will also be broadcast on the SEC Network, where I am labeling it as, I think I'm right up on the line of calling it a must-win, Preston, right up on the line of it, but I'll stop just shy. I'm calling it is the biggest game of the season because you win this game, it kind of offsets the North Florida loss. It'll help you in the net rankings, all these rankings, the net ratings and everything, and Texter weighs in and points out in the net rankings, 5 of the SEC are in the top 10, 10 of the SEC are in the top 30. South Carolina currently checking in at 99th in the net rankings as things stand today. So it goes to show you just how good this conference is.
So when we start having these conversations about what we think conferences are, obviously when we talk about football, we know the SEC is the conference. But it might just be my age, but when I think basketball, I think ACC. And I'm wondering if that's even true anymore. Because when you hear the numbers bear out, you hear how many teams are ranked in the top 25 from the SEC. You look at their winning percentage. I was looking at this article. The SEC is 144-20 this year as an overall record, which, by the way, South Carolina has contributed some wins to that and has done very, very good, have a very high winning percentage. And they've done this against they're 17-8 against other AP top 25 teams. So when we start positioning ourselves as who's the conference or who's the power conference in basketball, is the idea of it being the ACC, is that antiquated?
Yes, to me, and quite frankly, the reason being is if you'd have asked me for the last few years who the power conference was, I'd have gone with the Big 12. The Big 12 right now has two teams registered in the top 10 of the net rankings, that being Iowa State and Houston. If you were to ask about the ACC, do you know how many teams? Do you want to take a guess? You don't know. Do you want to take a guess at how many ACC teams are in the top 10 of the net rankings?
3.
Lower. 1. Duke. Duke is the only one. Duke in there, pretty good. Duke is up there at number 3. That's the only one. The next closest team is number 12, and that's Pittsburgh in the net rankings. Now, the net is, again, the reason I jump to that for a second is because that's what the NCAA Tournament Committee tends to use in terms of trying to figure out seeding and some of the other things. If I was to go into the top 25 right now, currently, the Big 12 has Iowa State and Kansas in the top 10. The Big 10 only has Oregon at number 10. And as I mentioned, there's just one ACC team in the top AP top 25. And again, that's number 5, Duke.
Okay, so in reference to this game tonight, there used to be a sort of benefit of the doubt given to Clemson basketball because they were played in the ACC. Will South Carolina be able to play themselves into a point where they get the benefit of the doubt because they're in what is essentially, by numbers, the power conference as of right now?
Yes.
And maybe moving forward.
And that's why I stopped just short of saying it's a must-win, because it's not like you're eliminated from anything. If you lose, you can go into SEC play, and let's just say things held as they are today. 8 top 25 teams from the SEC. 9 games as it is today. 9 games. Half of the conference schedule will be against top 20 teams for South Carolina. So let's just say let's just say everything held, and you're able to win 6 or 7 other conference games, you're probably in the NCAA tournament. You're probably in. Probably. And that's where you're going to get the benefit of the doubt. You lose tonight and you go, say, 9-9 in conference. Now you're probably on a little bit more of a slippery slope because you don't have a great non-conference victory to go along with whatever you've done in conference.
So also when we're thinking about jobs, premier jobs, thinking about those, you're in the premier job. You're in a good job in the premier basketball conference as of now. So the idea of maybe coaches getting poached and things of that nature, that's less of a thing now?
Now, that comes down to money.
Of course.
That comes down to money. The SEC has it right now, no offense, but the ACC does not. Still, you've got Duke, Louisville, North Carolina.
Are they? Is there some trouble in Chapel Hill basketball?
They aren't thrilled. Herbert Davis he's not bad. It's not to the standard that North Carolina wants. They're not in the top 25. I don't hear the AP ranking that I have here in front of me. Okay, it does have the others receiving votes, and North Carolina got 9 votes there yesterday in the AP top 25. But it's kind of like North Carolina. You know they're good because they're North Carolina and because they recruit at a fairly high level. But they're not in the national championship discussion. They're not a team that we are considering to be up there. You look at what they've done so far this year. I mean, overall, North Carolina's 6-4 on the season, Preston. And so, yes, is it still a premier job? Yes. Do they need to, not just for football and Bill Belichick, but for basketball and whomever may be the next coach there, or if it is Herbert Davis, they need to get more money. They need to compete on a higher level with the teams that are using NIL. By the way, North Carolina's losses are nothing. There's nothing bad. They lost to then number 1 Kansas. They lost to then number 4 Auburn. They lost to Michigan State in overtime. Nothing wrong with that. And they lost to number 10 Alabama. Their losses are fine, but what do you hear right there?
Loss.
Against your premier team. They've beaten Elon, great. American University, awesome. Hawaii, okay. They do have a win against Dayton, which Dayton's not awful. Anthony Grant up there. But Georgia Tech and LaSalle. So you hear, they've lost to really good teams. They've beat teams that they should beat. They're not winning. They're not playing on a national level.
What I hear is that you're considering these other teams premier and elite, and you're not considering, if I was a North Carolina fan, you're not considering us as being one of them, and you're becoming sort of a team that's running with the pack instead of leading the pack. And that's not where North Carolina tends to be. Hubert. And you even said 6-4, that they're 6-4. If you would have asked me just without having any idea, South Carolina is 7-3 right now, and I'm kind of like, eh.
By the way, as a texter points out, it's Hubert Davis. I kept saying Herbert. It's Hubert Davis. And as he points out, they're so bad you can't even get their name right. Yeah. And look, there is something to be said for that. In the day and age of the flashy coach, Hubert Davis he's there with his glasses. He's just kind of there.
He was always kind of just there.
He's just kind of there. Like, at least Roy Williams, I feel like if you were a North Carolina fan, you were like, man, I love that Roy Williams. If you were not a North Carolina fan, you're like, I hate that Roy Williams.
I like
Roy. Yeah, there was no, like, with Hubert Davis, you're just like,
it's whatever.
And I think that's where North Carolina basketball is. And that's honestly kind of where ACC basketball is right now when you talk about that. No, and of course, if you kind of go through the rest of it, look, I'm always a fan of the Big East. I don't have a rooting team in that. I'm trying to decide whether I'm pro Dan Hurley or anti Dan. Like, Dan Hurley is quickly moving his way up. Either you're going to be, man, that guy's kind of quirky and cool, or you're going to be like, that guy is a weirdo and annoying.
My problem is I haven't updated my conference operating system yet. And so when you say Big East,
Connecticut, Marquette, Providence, Georgetown, St. John's.
Okay, all right.
Butler is in the Big East.
Okay. Woohoo. Starting to put some things together.
They do a 6:30 FS1 game when you really get in. So I watch more Big East basketball than maybe I should.
All right.
So.
All right. Yeah. Like I said, I've just got to re-update my system to calibrate who's in the Big East and who's not.
Gotcha. No, but to your point, yes, right now the SEC is the premier basketball conference through at least the end of December, and then we'll see what happens as we get into. And look, as we said, money plays a role in this. Look at the coaches in the SEC right now. You've got a lot of top-tier coaches in this league. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll wrap everything up here on a Tuesday morning. You're listening to the early game. I was so invested in not saying Herbert Lee Davis that I forgot it was Hubert Davis, but I'll do better next time. Speaking of doing better, much better, Midstate Roofing continues to take care of you and your home, you and your business. Their goal is to keep your operation dry and running long into the future, and guess what? They do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You heard that right. If you call Midstate Roofing today, you will speak with an on-call technician or a Midstate Roofing employee who will help get you a maintenance contract that you, for your home or your business, desperately needs. You don't want to have a rainstorm come through and all of a sudden then you're discovering a leak. So don't waste time. Call Midstate Roofing today. Line up an appointment. Get them out to your house. Get them out to your business and make sure your operation stays dry and running long into the future. That's 803-356-1919. Again, 803-356-1919. Contact Midstate Roofing today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air. Now, we've got a nice week ahead of us, but as I was telling Preston, next week it gets real chilly. I believe on Monday it's expected to be around the high of 47. So my question to you, is your heating unit working properly? If not, and you think you've got the oldest heating and air unit in the Midlands, well, guess what? AAA Heating and Air is holding a contest right now. Just go to myoldAir.com. Complete the online entry form, and AAA Heating and Air will draw a winner at random for every 100 entries. You heard that right. Just go to myoldAir.com. If you think you've got the oldest heating and air unit here in the AAA Heating and Air service area, you could win a brand new heating and air unit. Go to myoldAir.com, complete the online entry form, and again, for every 100 entries, AAA Heating and Air will draw a winner at random. Contest is for a limited time only. Residents in the AAA Heating and Air service area are eligible to enter. See terms and rules on the website for a full list of contest rules. Reminder, you can always go and visit us on our live stream. Go to the Game TV Radio on YouTube, powered by Integrated Media, sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. You can hang out there where Troy, a Clemson fan, points out a couple statistics there, Preston Thorne. Number one, the ACC is 4-28 against the SEC so far this year in basketball. That doesn't sound right, but I'm going to go with that. 4-28. I'm going off of what Troy says. You can go to our live stream. We got a chat over on the right side. You can join in the chat. Troy, William, Chuck, all in there, and Jen is in there as well. And I'm going to get Jen's comment in just a minute and see where you stand on this. But Troy also weighs in. Money is 100% of the reason why the SEC is the best basketball conference now.
I guess. I mean, when you say money, though, what do we mean? What are we saying when we say money? That's a very broad statement.
Coaching contracts. I mean, who do you John Calipari. Let's see. If you just go through it, Rick Barnes, John Calipari, Buzz Williams is a big name at Texas A&M. He's got them ranked. Bruce Pearl is obviously a big name. Nate Oates is a guy that I was telling you off air. Nate Oates is a guy that I think elicits emotion, a lot of dislike. I think a lot of people don't like Nate Oates. He has had some kind of comments about South Carolina in the past, but it's not just South Carolina. You look at a guy like Mike White, who is well known as a solid basketball coach, maybe not great, but what he has been able to do at Georgia now. Georgia probably should be ranked. I mean, you just kind of go through the conference. Mark Pope is at Kentucky, and Mark Pope seems to be showing what he's capable of doing. So, yeah, I mean, it's, to me, they're getting guys. Whereas I love Pat Kelsey. I got to know Pat Kelsey. Pat Kelsey is an incredible man, and I think he's going to turn the Cardinals around and do really good at Louisville. That was a fun game to watch, Kentucky and Louisville. But you kind of look across there at other, what I would label as other big name coaches in the ACC, and quite frankly, they don't have them. And I'll say this, because also on our live stream, Troy points out, he says the goal for Carolina is to keep it close, and then he says, and Brad Brunell, and he adds a lot of L's, uppercase L's.
I like it.
And he says Brad Brunell, and again, a lot of uppercases, will find a way to lose. And I think, like a lot of Clemson fans out there, like Troy, there was times when Brad Brunell was really struggling, and a lot of people seem to think that Clemson didn't make a move simply because they didn't want to pay the buyout and have to go pay a new coach.
Again, welcome to the world of budgeting. Yeah, that has to happen. So if you're not happy enough with it, either you make a choice. But we knew who ran the roost over there with Clemson, and so there's always going to be an afterthought with them up there.
Yeah. Also on our live stream, and this is about where we will wrap up the program. JC Sherbet, we went down a kind of a path. We asked him about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, to which he admitted that he liked peanut butter and he liked jelly, but I guess he didn't like them together, and he admitted putting jelly on biscuits. It broke out into a biscuit discussion. I'm
always here for it.
To which Jen said on our live stream, biscuits and gravy are good. Who is in for gravy over scrambled eggs?
Oh, it's good stuff.
Intentionally, or is it just like
no, intentionally?
Intentionally.
Especially if I go to a hotel, you have the breakfast or whatever, and sometimes maybe they just need a little warming or something. That was something my mom always did, and I tried it once. It's like it's not terrible. I'd take that actually, and I don't even need the biscuit. Yeah, it's good. Gotta try it.
Interesting.
Okay, and then somebody's.
Oh yeah, that caught me off guard. I don't know if that's on the live stream, but it looks like something out of Home Alone.
Yeah. Where you're just seeing the shadow of somebody wiping something in the window.
Again, this is why you can go to our live stream, and you'd probably be able to see that. But there's shadows. We've got the blinds down here, and there were, I guess, two people out behind me doing maybe window work or something. Shadow puppets.
Well, that could have been really fun.
I thought that's what it was at first. But
I'll have to try that some morning.
They were actually working.
See if you guys can identify what I'm making.
There you go. So no.
Gravy. Sausage gravy over scrambled eggs, I promise.
Gravy, regular gravy or white gravy?
Yeah, just like biscuits and gravy with the sausage, and just pour it over your eggs. Yum.
It's not for me.
It's not the worst thing I've heard. Yeah. I mean, what is that disgusting concoction you have, like olives?
Oh, egg, olive, and cheese.
Yeah. I've heard far worse. So,
Eggs, green olives, and Miracle
I don't
Whip.
mind. The next time at a buffet, I will
Give it a try.
Give it a try.
You may be surprised.
Yep. Rooster P weighs in. Gravy on everything.
Yeah.
This texter goes with sausage gravy over cantaloupe.
Okay, I'll take my eggs. Thanks.
Sweet and savory.
Yeah, I guess.
Walt weighs in. Jen's right. Gravy on everything. On the bacon, too. It's money. So a lot of you weighing in.
Listen,
so,
that's why you have to listen. As the social media trend says now, we listen, we don't judge.
Oh, my gosh.
There you go.
I'll go on a rant on that later. Oh, my gosh.
And it looks like Ronnie will wrap us up with he has sent a picture of his wife's Clemson Christmas tree that did not get put up this year. I got to admit, even with a lot of orange and some purple, it's very pretty. Maybe do some homework. White Christmas trees, the artificial white Christmas trees. Where do we stand? Think about it. We might come back to that tomorrow. We'll take your opinion. Get into South Carolina Clemson. Follow up on that tomorrow. Y'all have a great day.
Yep. It's the new year. The new year is coming. Do you want to start the new year the same way you left the old year? Of course you don't. So call the folks